tutorial for preparing a 3D model for Plushify. If you want to make a sewing pattern out of a 3D model, if you want to support me, I have a coffee, or you can check out my Gumroad. But with all that said, first thing you're going to need is a 3D model. Personally, I'm going to be using Giraffe Rig from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And you can get 3D models from the models resource. You can 3D model your own, and so on. What you're going to need for this tutorial is you're going to need Blender at blender.org, and you're going to need to use plushify.net. First things first is you're just going to open up Blender and import your file. Let's see. Sort by type. I'm used to Pokemon models being .dae files, so I'll probably import this one here. That might have the armature, and I can pose the armature if I want to. I'll try that. Yeah, that looks good. So, Blender, if you have no experience with Blender, I'll try and narrate what I'm doing as I do it. First things first, you'll be in object mode when you import. Just object mode is the default mode. Let me check if there are textures on here. There are. Okay, less metallic. But say I don't have the textures here. Say I just have a model that looks like this. I will need the textures so that I can follow the markings for my sewing pattern. So if you don't have any materials or no textures show up when you open up your viewport shading and there's no textures here, you can create textures here on your little material panel. I'm just going to hit new. I'm just going to call this texture. And I'm going to change base color to image texture. And I'm going to open the one that looks like is Giraffe Rig's body, which is going to be this one, PM0203 underscore body, probably an albedo map or something. And there is my texture. So, this has an armature, which is it's like a puppet. So the armature are the bones, which will control the character. I am not sure how these work with this particular file type here. These are very teeny tiny bones, but I might be able to pose. Yes, I can. I'm going to turn on mirror mode here. Oh, to pose the armature, you have to select the armature and switch from object mode to pose mode. I'm turning on mirror here, and I'm just going to pose him to do a little bit of a sploot, because I think that would be cute. I like plush toys to be kind of cute and floppy. So we're just going to pose him a little bit like that. I only really need to pose half of him because I will just delete one half and mirror the other, and his leg wasn't posing symmetrically. If you don't have an armature, you can pose it manually in edit mode by selecting the object and tabbing into edit mode, and then you can select lasso is my favorite here. And you can manually pose it like this. You can rotate, I press the R key, or you can use these. And then this is, you can pose it like this. It's a bit harder to do that, and you'll have to do a lot of cleaning up around here and such, but thankfully we have an armature for this guy, and I'm just gonna, all I'm doing is scooting his legs out like that. And now that I have done that, I'm going to apply the pose, because when I go into edit mode, he goes back to his T-pose. Now, I could set the armature in the modifiers like this, but I don't want to. Whoops. Deleted that. Undelete that. And I'm just going to, with a giraffe rig selected, in the modifiers icon, which is a tiny little wrench, I'm going to apply the armature. And now his default pose is this. And with that applied, I don't know what all of these body meshes are. Let's find out. I don't need those at all, actually. I'm just going to leave him without his well, I'll leave the teeth, but the rest, the eyes and such, I don't really need. All of these I can delete. Delete the armature as well. That rotated him. You know what? I'm not going to delete the armature. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. I'm going to take giraffe rig, select him, pressing the M key. I'm going to move him to a new collection. You don't have to do this. I just like to have my little section here and rename this giraffe rig. And I'm just going to ignore the armature and forget it exists. Move that as well. There. And this is my ignore. I don't need any of that now. Now that I have him posed roughly how I want him, I'm going to delete half of giraffe rig so that I can just copy this pose over to the other side. I also only need to modify half of the model, and then I can mirror it and it will just be exactly the same. So I don't have to do it on both sides. So with giraffe rig selected, I'm going to edit mode, and I'm doing this, I think it's X-ray view. And I'm going to change my selection tool to a select box, and I'm just going to delete half of him here. Delete vertices. A few vertices here in the center. And you want a nice clean edge that's straight down the middle. Most models will have vertices smack through the middle. There. And I'm just going to clean them up a little. I like to work with meshes that aren't triangulated, but that is working out nicely for now. So I'm going to leave it, but I might try. Don't need whatever that is. Oh, never mind. I'm just going to delete that. And this is where his actual eye will start. Now, he has a mouth and a mouth interior because he's an animated character. And sometimes it'll open its mouth. I don't need that at all. And if I do need it, it can't be like this deep. Otherwise, it'll be like an inverted sock and look kind of uncanny. So I'm just going to delete the inner mouth. You can do that by usually if it's a model rip and it has UV maps and textures, you can hover over it with your cursor and press L, or you can select one vertex and go to, I believe, select. Nope, might be vertex. You can select by linked. Yes, select, linked. And you can just start deleting those. I'm going to select link by hovering over and pressing the L key. But obviously sometimes versions of Blender have different shortcut keys. That's why I'm showing you that it is under select. select linked, linked. There, I'll delete the inside of the mouth. And if I want to leave his little mouth open, what I can do is make some polygons here to show the mouth being open here. And what I would do there is I would select this point and extrude it. So by pressing the E key, and I'm going to also press the X key so that it only goes on the X-axis. And he's got, what, 3 points in here? Wait, he's got 1, 2, 3, yeah. So I'll extrude 3 points all the way through like that. And then I will select 4 points, press the F key, and that will create a face. Whoops. And I can make his inner mouth here. I don't want an inner mouth, so I'm going to delete this that I've just made. I'm going to close his mouth. Let's see. The best way to do that would be... I'm just going to delete the entire lower jaw. I know for some models, you're better off leaving the mouth as it is, and then just selecting this little inner row of vertices and filling them with a face like this. Or you can close it manually. Like that. But I'm not even going to bother with him having a lower jaw, so I'm just going to delete it in edit mode. And I'm just going to fill this by selecting 4 points and pressing the F key. His texture map will get a little broken, but that's okay. And I can fix this shape manually by moving points, or I can exit edit mode and go to sculpt mode. This might be a little more intuitive for some people. This is sculpting mode, so think of it like your cursor will add or move blobs of clay. I'm just going to try smoothing this out with the shift key. If I hold shift, it will kind of turn on my wireframe so I can see what I'm doing. That's not really working out. Oh, it's because I have one face. I'm gonna press G while I'm in sculpt mode here. I'm just gonna scooch that. There. That's good enough. I'll go back to object mode, make sure I've got giraffe rig selected. Oh, looks like there's some stray points here. I'm going to delete those. And I want to make sure everything on this center point here, like these, just going to merge these by lassoing them, pressing the M key, joining them in the center, and delete that one. I want to make sure all of these are at this midline here. So the easiest way I know how to do that is I will, in object mode, select giraffe rig, generate a mirror modifier. Modifiers, again, are in this little wrench icon, and he's a little bit off center. As you can see, he's kind of intersecting with itself there somehow. Oh wait, no, that is the back of his neck. Never mind. It's perfect where he is. But if I enable clipping, that will make my midline kind of stay. So I like to keep that on when I'm using a mirror modifier. And now we're going to do the actually important part of making this guy sewing pattern compatible, and that is adding geometry where we have our different colors and where we want our sewing seams to be. Having sewing patterning knowledge is what will make or break a plush toy pattern, even with Plushify. I think Plushify mostly automates the process of putting your pattern pieces onto paper from a 3D model. But the best way to add geometry in this case is going to be with the knife tool. Now, when you use the knife tool, you need to be in edit mode, and you can just kind of click around, and it's like connect the dots, and you will just make dots of where you want your seams and different colors to be. And you have to press the enter key to make it. Now, when you use the knife tool, it's going to create what are called n-gons, which is a polygon that has more than 4 vertices. And this cannot be read by Plushify. You will need to triangulate your mesh when you are done using the knife tool. Generally, you'll want to avoid n-gons if you're doing animation, but this is a perfectly great use for n-gons for now. You will triangulate them so that the software can read the mesh, because these are kind of complex and it doesn't really know where this point will connect to in relation to this one or something. Either way, n-gons, like this is a perfectly fine polygon. It's got four points. This is fine. It's got 3 points. But anything with like more than 4 points is going to be an n-gon. Like this, and you will have to convert your mesh when you're done. But we're going to do that in the next step, or right before we export for Plushify. In the meantime, we are just going to keep using our knife tool. Again, in edit mode, it's down here. And we're going to cut out all of our little markings. This is so, like, for example, if I have an embroidery machine, I can make this an applique. Don't quite know how to do that. I would just cut this out and sew it by hand, which would be a pain in the butt. My brother has an embroidery machine, so I can ask him maybe to make this an applique for me, or learn how to do it myself and then borrow his machine. But I'm starting with the color differences. Specifically, I'm starting with the spots. That's all I really need to do. He's pretty simple, color-wise, at least for adding markings. It's not like I'm adding an entire, top coat layer that's like brown and the bottom white like Yamper. But I do need to add, actually, so that I don't add to this, I'm going to separate the little pink zigzag part. And to do that, I link selected again, you can select a point, select linked, or you can hover over it, press L, and I'm going to move it. I believe that is under Mesh, Separate, Selection. You can also press the P key to reach that menu quicker, but it may vary on your versions of Blender. So this is now, I'm just going to call it Pink Spikes. I'm just going to hide that for now. Oh, I left some vertices here. I'm going to delete those, don't need them. Edit mode. Yeah, I'm just going to delete those. Because I need to add this middle cut here that isn't on the geometry, so you'll... There. I'm going to mark these as seams. You don't have to use your Blender seams. You can. I'm going to try. The last time I tried this, they didn't work. But I think it's because my materials were messed up. And I'll deal with that right before I export. So, edge, mark seam. You don't have to do this. You can do all of this in Plushify. But I'm doing this just so you can see where my sewing seams are going to be with this red line. And if you don't see the red line, I believe you can show them in this little menu. Might be under extras. Not quite sure. But for now, you don't have to do this. I'm just making it so you can see where I'm putting my seams, everything that I'm adding. Points are not all merged, so what I'm going to do here, because I want them all merged so that, you know, it'll go like that, I'm going to select all by pressing the A key, or I assume you can do select A, all. I'm going to merge. Let's see. Merge by distance. As you can see, it merged or removed 289 vertices. Because the merge distance is super low, that means it's pretty much just removing doubles, which now this is one vertex instead of two, which will make moving things a little easier. And I'm just going to scooch these back into the line of symmetry here. There. That's why I have clipping on, so that I can make it snap to the center exactly how I want it to. And this, what I'm currently doing, is what you will be doing in Plushify. You'll be selecting each edge and telling that that's where you want your seams to be. So you don't need to do this in Blender. You can. I find it a little easier, and I'm going to see if I can get this to actually be read by Plushify. Now I'm going to choose, well, I need these to be, so I can use Pinky Minky here. I'm going to put a seam here so that his ear can be sewn on, like that. I'll probably give it a dart so that it puffs up a little round. I'm not super familiar with sewing and darts yet. I just kind of eyeball it and hope it works. And if I haven't, I probably haven't clarified, to select more than one edge at a time, holding the Shift key. You can do it just one at a time, but I like to do it in little groups. Let's see, what's a good way to do his pattern here? I will try doing a sort of head gusset, which is where it has like a tummy piece and a top piece. I mean, this white part is basically a gusset, from, at least that's what I've seen them called on the few patterns I've sewn on teddy bear making. And I'm going to do something similar right here. Smooth that out. I'll have a seam here to sew his head separately. Let's see. Maybe like this. I'll just make it a little straighter like this. There. I assume if I want the cheek to round out, I'll need a dart. And I kind of want it to be right like here instead of where the polygon is. And I'm just making this in case it's needed. I might not have to use that at all. Plushify will show basically the stretch of the stuff. So if there's a big blob of red here, yeah, I'll put a dart around here somewhere. If it's not, it's probably okay. And that you'll just have to see in the Plushify half of this little video here. I'm going to just cut these straight in half. I don't want to overthink it. I can just use these the existing geometry, but I kind of want it to be in a specific way. So I'm making some as I go along here. And I'm making all of these marks based on what I've seen on plush toys that I've owned before, or patterns I've seen. And that's really what's going to help you out, is just having seen. Definitely pull out like plush toys that you own, or look up ones like I could look up a horse or a giraffe for giraffe rig here and see where the patterns are there, where the seams are rather. He's clearly not really meant to have his legs bent this far forward, because that's a lot of weird triangly. Not a fan of that, but serviceable for patterns. So. You hear that crunching? Please don't mind. That is my. Please not mine, but that is a rabbit that we have just adopted. And I'm at my brother's house right now. And he has bunnies. A little bit. I don't think it'll matter too much, but I want his legs to be kind of two-piece pattern like this, although this is more of the top. I want it to meet here. I'm gonna add some more. Like that. And I'm doing it on the top instead of on the sides because I want the silhouette to have this bump. And I'd rather that show up very well on the side, on the profile view, than on the top view, because that's the main way you would be seeing it. The top view, it's fine. I could overcomplicate it and make it a 4-piece leg. I don't think I need to do that. That is me wanting to go like paper crafty mode. I'm going to be sewing him in Minky, which is going to have a bit more horizontal stretch than it does vertical. So it will stretch this way, assuming the uphill nap of the fabric, the fur is going like this way or that way. I'm gonna make his hoof a separate piece because obviously it's different color. Put the bottom and the top there. Maybe I'll just do it like that. See, now I gotta figure out how I want this to connect here. I'm just going to make it as well. I'll lower this angle just a smidge like that. There. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to use this existing geometry instead, because it has that nice angle here that will help me match my pattern pieces. I'll just add to there. Yeah. Actually, that might be a little high. I'm going to do it like this instead. No, I'm not. That looks bad. I'll figure that out after I do this hind leg here, which... edge. This... tempted to follow kind of the anatomy and go like this with the leg piece, but I don't know if I should. Go kind of in between. Do this. I'm gonna delete this little inner lip that's going on. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, I will do that actually. When I rotate it turns so far, I'm gonna select it and go to View, Frame Selected. Now it'll rotate based on this little selection I made. Makes it easier for me. I want to join these. Because his teeth were a little separate piece, but I want to join them just to... I only need the outside, you know, had an inside of a mouth. I deleted that too. So I'm just going to select this, shift select that, and press Control J to join it. You can also go to Object Merge, or Object Join, I believe. But now that this is joined up, I'm going to merge my vertices here by distance, just to remove my doubles. Looks like they got double faces here. What's going on? I do... I don't like that. Just gonna... tell it to merge again to try and remove those double faces. Gotta increase my merge distance just a smidge. Good enough. I still have doubles, what the heck? See that flickering? That's Z-fudding, which means polygons are right on top of each other. So I'm deleting faces, and yeah, as you can see, I've got doubles. You can also kind of see that the lighting is different. I think I got rid of them all. Nope. Wait. What? Confusing. Oh, I'm a fool. It's because I have a mirror modifier when I joined all that. Oh, so doubled it. I should have deleted the left half before joining. Yeah, that's why. Well, live and learn. Just gonna delete them. Delete all of it. Turn off my mirror modifier so I can see. Yeah, see, I had pieces over here that I needed to delete, but I've already deleted them, so you know what? We're just gonna do it manually and add them like this. Select 4 at a time, press F. There. Now it's obviously a little flat, so I'm just gonna add. And pressing Alt S, that'll kind of blow it out like that. Turn that back on. There. It's not as nice as it would have been, but that's fine. I'm just going to extrude and scale this down by pressing, make my selection and press the E key and merge those. There. I'll just round it out a little bit. There, good enough. Now, I want his tail to be a little more complex than how I have the antlers, because it's more important. So I assume what I'm going to need to do is make a bit of a dart somehow, like that. And then I'd put maybe another one here. Or here. Let's do this one. It's a nice curve that follows it. Whoops. That's adding. I don't need to add geometry. Everything. I might add a dart here, you know, to make sure his thigh sticks out. I don't like that being touching there. So I'm just gonna shorten that. Where's my frame selected? View, sorry. There. I think that's good enough. I'm gonna hide my texture here by putting it on random. And what I'm going to do this time, I didn't do this last time. This might be why my UV map stuff didn't work in Plushify. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to UV editing. If you don't have this tab, you can go to add this plus, and then what, general UV editing. You can also just do it in modeling, but I like to do it in UV editing. I'm going to select everything. See, this is his original UV map. And we're not using that at all. So I'm just going to replace it with my current one by going to UV. Where's unwrap? Unwrap. There. And you can see this is probably where I had added the mouth. Yeah, that's think that's where the mouth was. That's why it's stretching over there. I'm going to double check that though, because that can mess with my stuff. View texture. Is it this? No. What is this stretching here? That looks like it's connected to... There's a big spot. Looks like this spot. So that looks like something around... Oh, it might be the tail. Well... I'm going to put a seam there anyway, actually. I'm going to unwrap him again. Oh! It's my body pieces. I didn't do the gusset that I wanted on the tummy here. I'm doing Shift V. That kind of will scooch it along the body. We'll try that. Unwrap him again. What piece is this? It's probably right here. Well, I've successfully broken his UVs, but that's fine. So with that in mind, now I'm just going to export him. But before I export him, I have to make all of these n-gons into tris or in quads. And I like to do stuff in layout or modeling mode. You can do it in any mode, but with him selected in edit mode, I'm going to go to, I think it's mesh or vertex, might be faces even. Triangulate faces, Control T. And as you can see, it added a bunch of geometry. But I'm going to do that on a duplicate. I like to duplicate my stuff when I do stuff like that. There. Triangulate faces. There we go. And I'm going to File, Export an object file, because Plushify requires object files. I'm going to do Selected Only. I'm going to make sure it applies my modifier. The only modifier I have right now is a mirror modifier. If I don't apply the mirror modifier, he's only coming out with like half. But I've applied my modifier. I'm limiting it to my selection only. I'm just going to export giraffe rig. And next up, we'll be doing the Plushify part. Our giraffe rig here. And I've exported him as an object file. And I'm just going to do new plushie on Plushify. See if I can find him. Put him in my 3D files here. There he is. Select them all positioned correctly on the table. That looks right. Looking to the right. Yep. Let's try using the UV map. Oh yeah, nope, didn't work. That's okay. I'm just going to delete him and import him again, but without the UVs. See, if you go to show pattern quality, it'll show like some stretch. He doesn't have any pattern marks right now, so I'll do that in a minute. But this is Plushify. It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of hard for me to use right now because I use a tablet pen and it just doesn't. Tablet pens plus Chrome or whatever I'm using just are not great. So I'm using a trackpad on my tiny little keyboard. So it's gonna be a little jank. But this is why I marked my seams on this one, so I can reference it. I wish it would keep my UVs. I don't know why it won't. I'm sure it's probably just an export issue. Maybe it's a material issue. I'll play around with it later. For now, I'm just going to show you the basics of Plushify. And what you'll be doing essentially is all of the seams that you made in Blender are just adding geometry so that you can make those seams in Plushify. You could use the original mesh and probably get a somewhat workable pattern out of it, but I strongly suggest adding your own seams like I did. You can just kind of drag, and it will update on the left there on your pattern as you add seams. And this is also basically UV mapping. I don't know if Plushify handles things a little bit differently than standard UV mapping to compensate for fabric. I just don't know enough about it. Let's see. It's kind of a straight line there. And to get a good sewing pattern, just look up, say if I can reference a horse pattern, I'll just look up a horse on Google Images and kind of see where they place their seams. The more you look at plush patterns and plush toys, the more you'll learn roughly how they're made. And remember, if you make a plush toy pattern and you sew it up and it looks a little funny, like at 8Bs, especially in the face, a lot of stuffed animals use, I think it's called thread sculpting, which was what helps shape the face a little bit. Most stuffed animals have thread sculpting. Otherwise, they'll look kind of like the 8Bs. And thread sculpting, especially on classic teddy bears, they'll use that to shape the mouth. That's how you make individual little fingers for the paws. It's the wrong, yeah, it looks like I used the wrong line here. There we go. Oh, there's the bunny. He wants to come cuddle. Oh, no, he doesn't. Never mind. I'm at my brother's house, and he's just adopted a bunny. He's a very cuddly little man. He's got a damaged ear because another bunny bit it, poor dude. And that's why he's with him now. Now, I don't know how this horn bit will turn out. I'm only making it a two-piece pattern, so it's probably going to be a lot flatter, but I think that's perfectly serviceable. I don't want to overcomplicate sewing a sphere, but I mean, I could. But this is already looking like a fairly complex-ish pattern. Maybe I'll add a little dart up here, see if that helps it any. Yeah, maybe. Now, for the ear, I'm probably not going to actually leave this small of a piece of minky like, I'm not going to leave a hole in the Minky for the ears. I'm just going to sew the ears on. But when I have this cut in a moment, you can see, I think it's up here where it's got this hole. I'm going to basically be using that to place the ears. That'll be like my reference on the pattern where the ears go. Yeah, here, let's see. Show pattern quality. I think my ears are a separate piece, and it's still really red, so maybe I'll make it dark and see if that turns it white. I'm not sure. I think I just need to keep unwrapping more, because the red means it's, like, not really great. Or maybe it's just really mad about the rest of the body not being unwrapped. I might just have to do a quick and dirty, rough unwrap here. There we go. That's better. It's actually showing my pattern quality now. Maybe I'll add a dart there. There. And I might cut this in half here. Oh, I wish I could use Blender controls so bad. I wonder if adding little darts like that for the knees would be helpful. But that might be overcomplicating this. I'll settle for some weird funk there. Don't want to add those. Maybe I'll put it dark here too. I wonder why one side is darker than the other. Might not need a cheek dart at all. But I think it would be cute. So I'm gonna leave it. Something with the body isn't working. Oh, this is probably why. Yep, that fixed it. Might just use pom-poms for the very top of that. That'd be cute. I think that's pretty much everything. I know this is kind of a very intense angle right here, and I don't know if I like that, but let's try there. I have to fix the leg. That'll work. It's a lot of pieces. I'm going to set up the colors. That's going to help us know what's what. So the primary color, I'm just going to make that a nice brown. Black. Yellow. Pink. Whoops, don't need that fifth one. And now I'm just going to tell what is yellow and... Oh, I forgot to do that mid-seam. The pants. There we go. Maybe I don't even need to, that's in there. I'm gonna do it anyway, though. I'm gonna make this a dark gray. Very dark gray. And that could just be black proper. Oops. There. Alright. Now we're gonna see colors got that markings. I'm not gonna bother with that. I did leave eye holes. Jeez, imagine life-sized giraffe rig. Powerful. Oh, if only. I'm gonna make it, what, 8 inches? Oh, that's too tiny. I'm gonna make him like 18 inches long. 24. That's a good size. Measure distance. I don't care. That'd be a cute size. Let me save. And this is where you would choose. Sorry, I have a dark theme on. This is where you would show all of your pieces. And you can add your seam allowance. I personally like my patterns not to have seam allowance because then I trace it right onto the fabric and then I just add seam allowance when I cut it. And I'll just save that. Print. It will ask if you want to support Plushify. I honestly I would suggest it just because it's great. I obviously I'm doing it for this tutorial right now, but you can just choose to print your pattern here, and you can save it as a PDF. If you do add seam allowance, though, I'm pretty sure it will say on the seam allowance what you sew each piece to, which is very helpful. But maybe not. I know my other one, it said like sew to here or something for my Yamper one. Maybe I need a larger seam allowance for to do that. Oops. But that's basically it. This is the part where you would print your pattern and then test sew it and make revisions to your pattern as you're sewing it. And that's basically it. Good luck.